Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Ready to unlock your mindset? Listen to the advice of our guest, Cici Castelli. Cici, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Bill, for having me here. Super excited.
You've written a great book, and I love the title, Mindset Unlocked. So first of all, explain what you mean by that. Why did you pick that title?
Well, I wanted to make sure that I showcase things that I had to do myself in order to adapt and be successful. So I wanted to come across as, hey, you can unlock your mindset and tweak it a little bit and adapt in order to learn new things and achieve success.
You have a lot of great tips. And as I said to you before the show, I'm going to alert our audience. If you don't have a pencil and paper handy, you may want to get one. Keep it nearby because there's a couple of comments you're going to want to jot down. And if for some reason you can't do it, you can always listen to a podcast of this show after the show, obviously, at nccradio.org. Just look for Secrets of Success. So if you're taking notes or you want to get some notes, get some paper and pencil handy because Cici has a lot of great one-liners, let's say, that get you right on the trail to success. Cici, right at the beginning of your book, and in fact, I think right on the cover, you say, do what others can't, won't, or don't do. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, Bill, I don't know if you know much about me, but I came as an immigrant 30 years ago. And when I was an immigrant, I actually went to Harvard, but I went as a dishwasher and not as a student. And little I started learning that I needed to do things that were different than other people, since I wanted to become an American and I wanted to be different from others. So I will create a path for myself. So in other words, doing what others can't, won't, or don't do, it's actually coming up with what is the competitive advantage that you can offer, whether it is at work, in your career, in order for you to be different than your peers. What value do you bring to the table?
And I love, I'm sorry, I love that because I think it says so much. We all tend to look at someone else and say, he or she isn't doing that. Why should I go the extra mile? Why should I make the coffee, take the cups back in, put the report on the boss's desk or, the manager's desk, etc. And you're saying it right there. You're telling people that if you want to be successful, do what others can't, won't, or don't do. And I think that's great for students going to college, too, that they're getting out there, they're realizing it's that little extra effort that can sometimes put you literally miles ahead. You mentioned, and we were talking about it before the show, even small successes make us feel energized. And it just seems to propel us. It's like putting gas in a tank or drinking something with sugar and you feel pepped up, you're ready to go. Tell us about that and why is that?
Yeah, I think it's just you just create momentum from when you have a small achievement, you feel energized and you keep going. And that's a great opportunity to create momentum. So when I actually plan, and if I have a big project, I break it down into very small, measurable steps that while I go along, it allows me to feel energized as I achieve each one of those phases, each one of those steps, in order for me to keep going and create the momentum that I need in order to push me forward.
You just hit on something. I like to make a list, and in the morning it might have 6 or 8 small things. Go to the bank, send an email to this person. But as I achieve each of those small things, and they're very tiny, I put a circle on it, and automatically I do feel, hey, I'm accomplishing something. Obviously, I'd like to go on to bigger things, whether it's in sports or whatever, and within my range. But it's energizing me to have the strength to keep going and to want to keep going. So that's a great point. And I think, again, for anybody either starting out in their careers or in school, going for a certificate, college degree, it makes a good point. Get some small victories in there. You get energized and it can keep you going. You say that a lot of us focus on activities that are urgent rather than important. Why do we do that? Are we overburdened, or is it poor planning?
No, I think it's a mix, right? I think sometimes other people's lack of planning become our emergency. So we need to be focused and make sure that that doesn't happen and that we focused on the right thing. So for example, you mentioned that you have a to-do list or a list of your priorities for the day. Some people don't have that list. Some people have the list of what they really need to do. But when they get a phone call, they drop what they're doing in order to do something else. So it's important to look at, and this came from the Eisenhower matrix. It's important to take a look at what we're working on and what are the things that we really need that are important for us to move forward. Okay. Being busy, it's easy. Everybody has something to do, but sometimes not what we're doing or what we're doing is not really important for our career or important for our family or for our personal growth. So taking a look at what are the things that are going to really move the needle forward is going to make sure that that gets in my bucket list for me to do today as the important things. And yes, if I prioritize and I work on those things little by little, I come up with a system where I'm not just working on everything last minute because it's urgent, because I had lack of planning a few days ago, or because it is somebody else's priority. So what is it that I really need to focus on for me to move forward?
And that's another one of those points which I think for most of us, where are we really spending our time? And it leads into another statement that you made in the book. What's important to us? Maybe it's our kids. Maybe it's our schooling, even a parent going back to school, getting another degree or a certificate or an education. Maybe it's a personal goal someone has. They're in sales and they want to achieve a certain level or something that might be necessary for a promotion. But I think we have to define that, if I'm reading your book correctly, is it's up to us as an individual.
Yeah. You need to define it yourself. Otherwise, your destiny is going to be following what you're really working on. So whether it is something important or not, that is what your product is going to be. So that is why it's important for you to decide what is it that you want to spend your time on. That's why people say time is valuable, because time is really what's going to give you the product of what you're doing, of what you're working on. So that's why it's important to define what is the most important thing in your life or in your career that you want to focus on.
And putting that together with something else that I read in your book, our destiny, and you just said it, follows where we spend the majority of our time. And it would probably be, I guess, a good thing to take a look. Where do we spend our time? If it's all in school, well, are we neglecting our family or certain or other obligations, maybe our job, etc., if it's devoted to school? If it's all with our kids, that's great. But are we maybe neglecting something in our career or what's necessary in order to provide for those children? In other words, earning a living, building up a career or a specialty that you would be proud of, they would be proud of. So perhaps it's a good idea to keep a list or do something that tells us where we're spending that time.
Yeah, actually, that's one of the things that I work on with some of my coaching clients, because sometimes they have relationship issues. And when you start looking at, well, what do you do and how do you spend your time? They realize that they are spending the time working all the time. Like they work 6-7 days a week. And it's like, okay, how about your wife? How about your girlfriend? So it's important to realize where you spend the time and is the balance. Do you really have that balance that you want to achieve working on your professional career and working on your personal life? You know, do you spend enough time in your hobbies? Do you spend time on your vacations? Do you spend time with kids, with your partner? with your significant other. Those are things that we sometimes neglect to take a look at when we get so into what we're working on.
Cici, at this point in the show, would like to let our audience know, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Our guest today is Cici Castelli. She's the author of the book Mindset Unlocked, and a really fun book to read. Simple, gets right to the point. Cici, we're going to ask you where we can get this book and if there's a website where we can learn more.
Absolutely. You can get it anywhere you want to actually get your books, whether it's Amazon, Barnes & Noble, but you can also go to mindsetunlocked.com where you get information from the book.
And as always, we'll ask you that question again later in the show. So if someone is listening, you didn't have a pencil handy, you want to write it down, you want to make notes on it for your son or your husband or your wife, we'll give you all that information before we finish up again. Cici, you mentioned a business coach. Now, we've heard that, and I know you do it, and you've actually used one. Can you explain the role of a business coach? Who needs one? Why would you want it? Is it just someone in sales where we see them as almost the athlete who has a scoreboard, which is how many sales they make? Or is it the accountant or the teacher?
Well, Bill, this is a great question because you do see athletes out there and they're amazing athletes. And what do? They get a coach. So in business and in life, we actually never really learned the purpose or the role of a coach. And I am a high productivity and performance coach. So you have different coaches that specialize in something different. For example, what I do, for example, work with people that are hungry for success, people that are willing to change to reach their next level in their career. I work with high achievers, and I do this by focusing on my 3-step program, which is identify, influence, and implement. And these are 3 words that key them to get clarity into their priorities and influence those around them to ensure that they have the resources that they need to achieve more productivity and leverage the courage and the discipline that it takes them to implement what they need in order to be successful. And I know there are a million coaches out there, but there are only a handful of certified high performance coaches or productivity coaches that work with a scientifically proven program that move toward a sustained success. Because people could be successful for a day in the week or a week of the year. But what's important is to learn how do you maintain that success in a sustainable way for a lifetime.
I think that's a great point. And you probably saw I'm taking notes, and I'm going to ask you, just repeat those 3 elements again.
Yes. My 3 elements are identify, influence, and implement. And to me, what I teach my clients is you identify with clarity what are your priorities and the activities you really need to focus on that are important to you. Your influence, you influence those around you. A lot of people have learned how to persuade others, right? How do you influence in order to have the resources that you need to achieve more productivity? And the third one is implement. Yes, you implement what you need to achieve with the courage and the discipline that you need in order to be successful.
And again, it's so simple, but I think for parents out there or someone who just wants a simple guideline all day, identify what you have to do, influence, and implement it, put it into action. It gives us a great start and a roadmap where to go. Again, you mentioned the coaching too, and just what you said, how many times do we see top athletes? They not only have a coach on the field for the team, but they have a food coach who tells them what to eat in the off season or a chef who prepares it. They have a mobility coach teaching them yoga and movements that the other coach doesn't know about. The other coach is a football or basketball expert, but they don't know about these movements for the body, or a strength coach, particularly building up the muscles that they use as a pitcher or whatever position they're playing. So I think if we look at what sports is doing, and of course they go to metrics, they look at the numbers, and that's what you're saying too, with a high performance coach, what is it going to hurt? And I guess today with coaching, you can do this either on the phone or by Zoom, right?
Absolutely. You can do it virtually, or you can do it in person. And Bill, let me explain to you why I became a coach. So I actually work in technology. I'm an executive in technology for a Fortune 100 company in travel and in the travel industry. And I was always a high achiever, and I was trying to get promoted. And all of a sudden, I felt stuck. I felt stuck for a couple of years, and I felt, well, what is wrong? And I got a coach. And by working with a coach, I actually learned not only how to achieve the next level in my career and go to promotion, but I also learned what was missing and learned how to become, how to have the feeling of fulfillment. Because sometimes you go and you work all day, you're so busy, and it gets to the end of the day and you feel like, did I matter today? Did I really make a difference today? So I learned what I was lacking in order for my life to be balanced. And not only that, but also I achieved success, and I continued to work professionally in my technology career.
You know, I'm looking at it as I'm talking to you in the rearview mirror and saying, what if we looked back in 7 or 4 years or 13 months and said, gee, if I only had a coach, I could have been doing something I really like. They might have picked up on something and said, instead of teaching, you should be an accountant, or maybe instead of being an accountant, you should be a teacher. Maybe if we're in sales, they would be the impetus to put us over the hill that's getting us up into the high sales category and really top salesperson. So why waste that opportunity? How much is it going to cost and waste if you try it for a few months? And if it works like it did for you, look at the success you found.
It's a total investment, because what you invest in a coach is actually going to multiply not only on productivity, but on how you feel, how energized you get, as well as what other things you achieve, whether your bottom line can double. You know, what can you do in your company if you are, you know, an entrepreneur or trying to become one? What are things that you can learn from a coach that are really going to help you kickstart at a faster pace? Find someone who's done it, who's been there and can teach you how to, so you can cut, you know, that learning curve in half.
I think that's a great piece of advice for our audience. And again, something to think of, because we would tell our children or our brother, why don't you try this? Why don't you do it? Maybe we should look in the mirror and say, why don't we do it? And really help our own success. And of course, be happier as a result, which is the main reason we're doing all this. Cici, you mentioned how much a difference it makes for those people who have their goals and dreams written down. Can you talk about that? Because we haven't heard about that in a long time.
Yeah, I know that there have been studies and that they have proven that when you have your goals and your dreams, and actually when you share them with someone, you achieve them faster, and you do achieve them. The reason why I promote that is because when you have your goals right in front of you in a visual board, in a sticky, near your laptop, or anywhere where you see it on your phone, it helps you plan what you really need in order to achieve those goals. So what is the plan for the day? For example, you mentioned that you had a list that you work with. So I actually don't work only with lists, but I do time blocking. So I look at my goals, and what I do is I block the time in my calendar in order for me to achieve my goals of the day. So when I wake up, and I do this every evening, for the following day. So when I wake up in the morning, my calendar tells me, go to the gym and do an arm or a leg workout. I even have it specific like that. So I don't even have to doubt, oh, am I going to the gym today? Or what am I working on today? But I have my gym workout. I have my dog walk. I have my, my cooking time, my planning time, and then my coaching for my clients, my work for my office. So I am able to divide my day and conquered all those goals that I set for myself.
It's great to hear you saying that. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that our audience and myself see that you, as a successful entrepreneur and author, you actually do this. So you're not just talking about it or suggesting it. You do it during the day. And a comment I took right out of your book, you said, a plan takes away uncertainty and stress. Well, we all want less stress. And if we know what we're doing, we just get right down to it. And as you said, it makes things a lot simpler because you know what you're doing next.
Absolutely. Some people have doubts whether they can do something or not, or they have the doubt whether they're going to achieve it in a certain amount of time. Well, when you start planning and blocking the time in your calendar, you eliminate that uncertainty, the doubt, and you stick to discipline and consistency. So yes, when you look at my calendar, you find all my workouts, you find what time I'm going to drive to the office, because I do have a full-time job where I work in technology, and where I also you find my coaching client sessions as they are throughout the day, and whether they're in the morning, in the evening, when they are, because I live by what I teach.
Cici, once again, we want our audience to know, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Our guest is Cici Castelli. She's the author of Mindset Unlocked. And Cici, we're going to ask you again where we can get this book and if there's a website where we can learn more.
Yes. You can get the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or you can go to mindsetunlocked.com, or you can also go to my website at cicicastelli.com, and that's spelled CICICASTELLI.com.
Easy enough to remember. And again, we'll ask you one more time at the end of the show. Something I copied down, and in sports today, everything is metrics. It's all about numbers. What gives you the most chances out of 100 to get a hit or a connect on a pass or a basket? And you said that, if I've got this correct, we are 42% more likely to succeed in our goals if we write them down. Is that accurate? Did I get the right information?
Yes, those are like what I was mentioning, that they have been studies and they have been proven that people that write their goals, they are more prone to achieve them. So sometimes when people at the end of the year, they go, oh, what is my New Year's resolution? That is the reason why people ask to write them. I'm not in tune with a New Year's resolution. I'm more in like, what are my goals for the day? What are my goals for the week, for the month, for the quarter, and for the year? Because when you want to achieve something that is so big, you got to break it down into chunks in order to achieve it. So I try to work with smaller things that I can achieve.
And I think for our audience, I'm just thinking of it this way. We all buy a lotto ticket now and then, and I guess they tell you on the back someplace our chances of winning even $1 or $2 are 1 out of 200 or 300. And then, of course, the bigger prizes are into the hundreds of thousands or millions or even billions that we may come out the winner. Yet we take that chance. 42% means 4 out of 10. So we're almost saying 1 out of every 2 things we do, if we write it down, our chances of achieving that are going to be 1 out of 2 or almost 50%. That's fantastic. And I think for any of us, whether it's, again, our spouse or our children we're talking about, or a nephew or a niece, we want to see them succeed, whether it's a baseball game or a track meet or passing tests. And just by writing these things down, as you've suggested, and again, your book, Mindset Unlocked, is a very easy read. My copy is already messed up, and when I say that, it's because I keep marking it up and underlining. I love the comments you've made. I use the yellow marker on it. So I've destroyed the book, but it's good because I'm taking heed of what you're saying and abiding by your lessons.
That is great. I'm so glad to hear that.
Now, another one, and again, I have it in bright yellow here. You tell us to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. How many times do we have to go through? I mean, is this something 5 times a day we're going to be uncomfortable? And of course, to succeed, we do have to. It's either going to be the highest challenge, or we may have to let go of a favorite employee, or we may have to move jobs and lose some friends. But can you talk about that?
Absolutely. I think sometimes we just get comfortable that we're not growing and we're not learning something new. So I think it's up to each person to decide, to take a look and reflect. What am I doing at work? Is this exciting? Am I learning? Am I growing? Is this still giving me an opportunity every day to make a difference? And I think that that's what I mean, right? In order for us to grow, we need to do something outside of our comfort zone, whether that is to change jobs, to have a simple conversation with our boss saying, hey, I think I have mastered the skills that it takes to do what I'm doing now. I'm ready to learn something new. Or how can I help with something different? So it doesn't have to be that you have to quit a job and get a new one, but it could be, what can you do differently in order to learn something different that helps you do get some personal growth. And that's what I mean with stepping out of your comfort zone, being a little uncomfortable, and getting comfortable to be uncomfortable. So every so often, when you become like, okay, I got this, it's like, what's next?
I think all of us who have children, we say to them, take a chance, take those piano lessons, see if you want to play the piano, try out for the basketball team or the track team or the lacrosse team. If you don't make it, okay, but you at least you won't have that regret. And if you do make it, you may turn out to be a fine player. You just may enjoy it for the next X number of years, whatever the sport or activity is. And if you didn't take that chance, you'd never know.
Yeah, as a parent, I also know it's not only about telling our kids, but it's showing them how we are role models and how we can say, hey, I'm going to take a new dance class and see what it is that I can learn. So it's important as a mother or as a dad to also show our kids that we do take those initiatives and become uncomfortable in order for us to grow.
Cici, once again, I want our audience to know the book is Mindset Unlocked. It's an easy read, a fun read, and you could see even if you just took 3 or 4 tips from today's show, you're going to expand your chances of being successful. Once again, real quick, tell us the website and where we can get the book.
Yes, mindsetunlocked.com or CiciCastelli.com. It's CiciCastelli.com. And you can get the book by going to Amazon or Barnes & Nobles or anywhere where you buy your books.
You'll love it. You'll enjoy it. And you'll want to find out what's going on Cici's website. So now you know how to reach her. Cici, thanks for being with us today. We'd like to let our audience know that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we will continue our journey to success.